Hello, my name is Jana. I live in a forest and I make things, and I'm about to finish this thing. It's an accidental wall hanging quilt that I produced not so long ago, and I just feel like I have to finish it as soon as possible. I have a lot of other things that I've started and need to finish, but it feels doable. It's so small that I feel like I can just finish it. I'm almost done with quilting it, and that's one thing that I want to discuss today, because my relationship with hand quilting is kind of strange, because I mentioned this before, but the first hand quilted quilt that I saw in real life was the one that I made, because quilting and patchwork is not as mainstream in Russia as it is in some other countries, so I didn't have a lot of places where I could go and see something like this. And I did see quilts in real life, very beautiful quilts on craft fairs, but they are all machine quilted, like long armed. They look expensive, because it's not something that you can just do yourself easily. But as I got more and more access to information via the internet and YouTube in particular, I saw how to do hand quilting and how people do hand quilting, and I didn't have to see that in real life or talk to any real people who do hand quilting. So the first decision that I made is I'm not going to try and use tiny needles and make tiny stitches. I'm going to go with long stitches, and it's going to be fine because I want my work to be visible. And that's what I did. And the quilts that I made before now were made with rather big needles and big stitches. I like big stitches. But on this quilt, I made a decision to try out the tiniest needle that I have. I bought them. I bought them some time ago because I don't know what I was doing. So I thought, I want to do hand quilting, so I'm going to buy some hand quilting needles. And I got them and realized that they're so tiny that I'm not sure that I can hold them in my hand. So I just put them in a drawer and forgot about them for quite a long time. But recently I was attaching a binding to a puppy quilt, and I have some really thick fabric on the back, so attaching it was really difficult, and I was having a lot of trouble with thicker needles, so I thought I'm going to find this very tiny needle and I'm going to try and do my slip stitch with that, and it's going to be easier. And it was. But by doing this, I kind of got a little bit used to using this tiny needle. So when I made this accidental quilt, I thought I'm going to try and use this tiny needle and make my stitches as tiny as I can. I still think that those stitches are not tiny, but they are a lot smaller than the ones that I did previously. So progress is progress, and I'm almost done with quilting this quilt. I was trying very hard not to overdo the quilting, because it's very easy to kind of keep adding, but I wanted to make sure that I don't do too much. I enjoy the process. I can sit and just stitch and think about nothing, and it's very soothing in a way, but I didn't want it to be rigid. So I think I found a balance, and I'm almost done with the quilting. I have this much to quilt, and in classic me fashion, I got distracted and remembered that I actually need to make a label because I want to label this one, but it doesn't have a name, so I'm just going to put a maker's mark and a date and call it. Starting from the middle, there's this star, and I have an echo going in all the parts, like outlining the star and then outlining all the squares, and this bigger thing is also outlined on the inside as well as on the outside. And here in the borders I had to make a choice, so I made kind of a second echo in here, and this was the tricky part because I didn't know what to do, but I did like a little echo, and then I added this square just to fill the space, and just some straight line stitching in here. So I think it's a good balance. I really like how it looks in pen, but I'm going to stitch it to make it more permanent, and I chose this nice blue color. I almost intentionally didn't cut the square big enough for the hoop, so that I didn't have a choice but to do it just like that, with no support. But it works. It's just not as convenient, I suppose. Finished stitching. Here it is. I think that that's enough for a label. I almost like the back more. I think it looks more interesting. But now I have a label. I have binding already prepared, so I can just attach this and maybe potentially have this quilt done in no time at all. The binding I made is really scrappy. It's partly the leftovers from the original fabric and partly some, what are they called, solids from my stash, because I needed to make the thing a bit longer. Hopefully I have enough, but yeah, I'm just stitching it down quickly. It's been a couple days. I'm back a couple days later, and the quilt has been washed and dried. It looks really good. And now what I need to do is just put it there on the wall. But first I need to take down the other quilt, like so. And Now I just take this and put it on a wall. It doesn't stay that way. I think I have a solution for that. The previous quilt was held in place with those teeny tiny nail pins. I don't like them. They do the job, but they kind of stick out. I never managed to push them deep enough. So I thought maybe I'll do it the proper way. So I found this little plank, and I'm going to attach it to the back of the quilt with a couple loops, and then I'm going to just drive a couple screws into the wall, and I'm going to just hang this plank on those screws. That's the plan. And so I'll just quickly attach a couple loops, maybe let's do 4 because I hate myself. Let's do 4. It's going to be well distributed then, and I won't have to worry about anything drooping. And then I'll be able to hang the quilt on the wall. Finally. So step 1, I made a strip of this strap material, and I made sure that it's just a little bit bigger than what it takes to go around this plank. And then I did a very quick job of attaching the ends together very, very roughly. This wouldn't hold anything, but I just needed to make sure that this thing is kept in place. Like, I want to make sure that it's just a ring. And then I'm attaching it to the back of the quilt. So I pinned it just to make sure that everything is where I need it to be, and I'm going to just do a couple stitches here at the top and at the bottom because I don't want it to, go up or something. I could potentially even leave it just on pins to make my life easier in the future when I want to take it out. But I'm a bit paranoid about leaving metal in fabric because metal can rust. It is unlikely to rust in here because it's a room. But things happen, and I just want to make sure that nothing rusts on my quilt because rust leaves unpleasant stains that are kind of hard to get out. But I'm going to make a couple more of those quick loops, and I'm going to get them attached. I'll see you when that's done. I was going to use regular screws, but I found those little hook things in an IKEA set. I have a little bit left of the good times. So I just screwed them into the wall, and I can put my plank on them and they're not going anywhere. That means that if I feed this plank through my new loops, by the way, not my best work, but it's going to be enough to hold it up. If I feed this thing through the loops, I'm going to be able to just rest it on those hooks, and hopefully it looks level. I don't care if it's actually level. We're not this kind of house, but if it looks level, I'm going to be pleased. And I can show off my label if I want to. So that's it for this video. I hope that it was a little bit entertaining. I know that it started a bit slow, but by the end I hope that we've recovered. Now I have a wall hanging behind me that looks good, and it kind of tells you, hey, she knows what she's doing. It's not just a little quilt, it's a little quilt of credibility, if you will. So now you can just, by the first look into the camera, you can tell that I know my stuff. That was the idea, and now I can start making tutorials for people who don't know me. It's kind of important. You know, like it's a bookshelf behind a person during an interview. That's the same idea here. And I'm done with this quilt, but I'm not done with the fabric. I kind of want to use all of the fabric that was left from those original cushions that I made from the original jelly roll. I have a little bit left of the binding. I made too much, of course I did, because I was afraid that I'm not going to have enough. I have a little bit left. And what I did do with the rest of the leftovers, I made my triangle units that I use for my pin cushions, like these ones. So I have just a bunch of those units here, and I'm going to make a lot more units out of this fabric that I have laying around. I think I'm going to make 1 or 2 pin cushions, maybe 3 tops, and the rest of those triangles I'm going to use to make these kinds of blocks. I have 2. The green one, the red one, they're kind of fun. Just some leftover triangles, and they are going to go to my chaos quilt, which I kind of neglected over the last months. So I'm just going to do this off camera, but I kind of feel this need to get rid of the fabric completely. I don't want to have any of it left. I want to have a clean room, and lately I had this feeling that I'm getting rid of fabric. I'm not trying to create something, like I'm not running towards a beautiful quilt. I'm running away from a bunch of fabric that I want to use up and move on and do other things from different fabrics. Last year I had a plan that I'm going to move on completely and use those beautiful muted textured cotton fabrics just for everything. I'm not sure if that's going to happen still, but I kind of want to buy fabric for a project, use it for a project, and use as much of it as possible and have as little left as possible. That's the dream. That's always the dream, and we'll see if I can make it happen. It's unrealistic, I think, but it doesn't mean that I don't have to try. I'm rambling, so I should stop. I'll see you when I see you. I don't know when, but I have something accidentally exciting awaiting. Yeah. So I'll see you hopefully in the near future. Bye.